We are going to start our session. We have our honorable guest about the topic of future of fashion in Pakistan, Miss Zara Shahjahan, designer, Hassan Sheheryar Yasin, the word of HSY, Kamiar Rakni, designer, with Sahar Atif, designer and academic. We welcome you all.
So I think we're going to start. If Zara walks in, I think that will be wonderful because she's. Uh, are you going to coordinate? Check. All right. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate everyone being here. I know it's not for me. I know we have a star-studded panel, and some of my very, very favorite people sitting right next to me. Neither of them, I think, needs any introduction. Kami here has been my friend forever. He was a batch of 2000 at PIFT. I was batch of 1998, and Sheru was also the batch of 2000. So although PIFT, the first batch out of PIFT was 1998, I would say that the real um, जो हंगामा मचाया था ना वो मेरा ख्याल है 2000 के बैच ने बिकॉज इट हैड लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ स्टार्स देयर वाज शेरू कामी माहीन कारदार और कौन था उसमें Usman Dittu, and then it following year I think there was Nomi Ansari and so on and so forth. So it gives me great pleasure to host this because finally I think that we are beginning to create a wave. Finally, fashion is becoming a discussion versus textile always being Pakistan's narrative. And just I think day before yesterday, the Dawn stated that there has been a loss of 7 million jobs due to the textile sector. So that sort of is an interesting discussion for all of us. That oh great, Zara's here. Ajo Zara. Hi, Ajo, we're waiting for you. Oh, I'm so sorry. मैंने phone silent पे कर लिया था. So yes, this is wonderful. Now we have Zara with us. It's a full quorum, and like I said, no introductions needed. Just to carry the conversation forward, 7 million jobs have been lost in the textile sector. So the question right now is, what can fashion's contribution be? On that note, I think that I will hand over the mic to Zara because we've been discussing outside how fashion and scale can play a role to affect the economy. And Zara has scaled her brand in a very interesting manner, which includes getting funding and getting the right partnerships to go from a usual standard designer brand, which is boutique operated, to a brand that is available nationwide. Zara, can we have you comment?
Yeah, sure. Assalamu alaikum. So I'll start with the thing that fashion. I'm happy that fashion is being taken seriously now as in economy. For the last 20 years, it was not, the government didn't take us seriously, and we got no support as such from even the industry because they didn't think it was real business. But we've seen very successful brands come up. We've seen how much money they are making. Big brands like Outfitters, Ethnic, Sapphire, Cardi being what it is. But the designer brands have always suffered, even because we weren't getting help from industry. Even the industries are opening up their own brands, which has helped a lot as well. But people like us were suffering to, we didn't know how to scale up. We weren't taught that. We don't come from business families. And it was something that I learned on my own. If there are any questions, like whatever.
Yeah, so that I think one of the very interesting points that you brought is a discussion I was having with Sheru outside, which is that you're either taught design or you're taught business. And incidentally, this is a panel of four. All the panelists are qualified designers. So
I'm not a qualified designer. I'm from
I mean,
art background.
your art background is still qualification, and I mean, that's not berating any of the designers who don't have qualification,
Yeah.
because design is such an aesthetic, and it is just some are sort of blessed with it. So, Sheru, what I would like to know is that you've been interacting with me at LUMS. So there are these two distinct audiences: the usual audience where we deal with designers and design students, and then there is the LUMS audience where these people have a serious business acumen. So as a designer who was just trained in design, I think you did a fabulous job of turning that HSY into a massive brand. Do you think that there should be, like Zara said, certain education which is just beyond art and design, and business should be incorporated into it?
That's a very good and crucial question. Fashion, like everything else in its space, is growing. No doubt when I came into fashion, when Kami came into fashion, even when Zara came into fashion, it was in its infancy stage. We were stepping into a space that had no precedent, so we were creating precedences. We were creating, understanding how to. If you recall, we had this conversation at LUMS, and we came at a stage where even the skills of branding hadn't been established. So even if you had a creative mind, or if you had an arts degree or a fashion degree, these were skilled degrees, and the skills that were required for the business of fashion didn't exist. There was no point for us to go in to tap into someone who had graduated from LUMS or had gone or had big industry, because they also didn't understand what the future would be. As I think Zara had said clearly, they weren't interested in working with us because they had no idea what the possibilities of us was. I don't even think we did. We kind of gave birth to this industry, and I'm not saying, "Yay, look at us, we gave birth to it," but we had no other option. This is what we wanted to do. But now, where we are today, the situation is different. The numbers are different, and it is a numbers game. Not just here in Pakistan, but the world over. There was a time when you could do a fashion week 6 months before, have the audience buy there and then the stores buy and go into fashion. But now with social media, with instant gratification requirements, the business and the numbers have become so different that even people like ourselves, who are self-grown, not just designers, but business fashion people, who've had to understand HR, workforce, payrolls, understanding how to keep fabric and vendors in check and keep spending in check, and to keep also, by the way, a very big thing, ego in check, because this design business can make you feel like, wait, hold on, I'm the king of the world. Keeping all of those things in check for a single person has been tough. But the business is changing. As correctly as Zara is that, synergies, of which was the main reason the Pakistan Institute of Fashion Design was built, was to have synergy between design and textile. Let's not forget that all of this in Pakistan did not come about because one great leader decided that, oh, Pakistan should be fashionable. I don't think that was ever the perspective. The perspective was fear that 2005, the quota system was finishing. We were no longer going to have the quota system. We were not going to be able to survive the free open market with countries like Bangladesh and India on our side, who were doing value addition because we were churning out the same stuff. And this is why this business was set up in the first place. And that's why when everyone else was running to FIT, and if you remember NUST, NIFT, we went to National, the Delhi's too. We were wanting to outdo everyone, and we said, oh, well, we'll go with Le Chambre de Syndical. We'll go with the Chamber of Commerce and Chamber of Couture, and do something so value-added. The fruit the phal of इस सारे सिचुएशन के अब हमें जाके मिल रहे हैं कि अब जैसे सारे डिज़ाइन ब्रांड्स आते जा रहे हैं, इंडस्ट्री को भी समझ आ रही है, वो भी अपने ब्रांड्स निकाल रहे हैं. अब हमें सिर्फ डिज़ाइनर्स एंड सेठ नहीं चाहिए. अब हमें वो लोग चाहिए जो इस बिज़नेस को चला सकें. आप लोगों ने लम्स पे एक बहुत मजे का एक कोर्स अभी शुरू किया है जो करने वाले हैं, I believe, which is that they are going to teach the business of fashion, not just marketing, but merchandising, marketing, and understanding how to do brand development. That is the need of the hour. I think we have brought the situation to where it needs to come now. But even for us to survive and go forward, I think in this in the place that I sit here, I can confidently say that we have a more experience under our belts than most. But the business is changing at such a rapid pace now, at such a rapid pace, that to be able to keep up and to be able to go forward, we're going to require more expertise and more people to come in. And I absolutely am in favor of a degree that now not doesn't only celebrate design and creativity, but also teaches you business and management. None of us went to LUMS. None of us had an idea how to be able to put businesses together, but we did. Use our information,
Right.
get get stuff from us. But the new generation of people, the people I spoke to in your classes who were asking me about questions, those are questions that even I needed to hear. So I'm excited that the youth is interested. I'm excited that the youth is ready.
Yeah, so I find this interesting because I think I was one of the more adventurous ones, because after PIFT, I mustered the courage to apply to LUMS and I got my executive MBA from LUMS. But in my opinion, I think there's a real serious need for a degree that solves all your problems, which is available internationally and unfortunately not in Pakistan. On that note, Kami, we've spoken extensively about fashion becoming larger than life, and there are these massive brands which I'm sure the audience has a complete experience that you don't walk into a store, a mainstream retail store, and fall in love with something. Like, those days are gone. Everything is undifferentiated. And in this landscape, I think that there are these pockets of designers who are very seriously differentiated, who've maintained their signature. And I would hands down say that Kamiar Rukni has been a really strong name when it comes to aesthetic. So I would like you to talk a little bit on your journey and how business has been impacted with the dilution, where a bridal will be available at under 100,000 rupees, एंड वो कारीगिरी, वो उस्तादी, वो महारत को हम ख़त्म करके ऑटोमेशन की तरफ जब जा रहे हैं, तो उसमें जो एक डिज़ाइनर का हुनर और एक उसकी मतलब सलाहियत, द सिग्नेचर, हाउ इट गेट्स लॉस्ट बिकॉज वी आर चेसिंग मनी.
Well, I'm of the opinion that there are two kind of designers. They're the ones that kind of lead the direction of fashion, and they're ones that follow. And there is the designer who is more interested in business and the numbers, and then there is the designer who is the creator. Now, if the creator is lucky enough to find a good collaborator, which is few and far between, and all of us have had to kind of go out and do it on our own and learn along the way. So 20 years of being in the business, I came to realize that I should play on my strengths and learn and adapt my weaknesses. I'm not inherently a business person, but experience and time sort of makes apparent your capabilities. So luckily for me, I never wanted to dominate the world or particularly scale up. What I wanted to always do was provide a beautiful product that was consistent and good customer service, and have a good time myself and really enjoy what I do. So I have managed to maintain an identity because I don't have to struggle to hit the bottom line. And I think with businesses that scale up and start on a very large scale, it leads to a loss of identity because they have to fit a certain quota of sales. They see the bottom line first and then they go on to fill it. That's why this panel is very interesting, because out of designer businesses that have scaled up, Zara's is probably the only one that is consistently true to an aesthetic and a point of view, which I don't know how you manage, because when you do also get funding into your business, and when you are working, and I have consulted with big corporations, there is a lot of looking to your left and to your right and observing what is successful and then trying to follow that. Whereas in fashion, I feel it's always nice to have, it's always more conducive to have a singular vision. It's two ways of looking at it. I think in fashion, you shouldn't underestimate what people didn't know they wanted, instead of trying to cater to what you think people want. There's a huge market for innovation and new design, because fashion is about what's next, what's in the air, what captures the current moment. So unlike the rest of the world, where fashion design has to come with a point of view, I think we haven't evolved so much. And it would be very interesting to see where we head towards with new brands like Rasta that have a very strong identity and how they scale up. But for myself, how I've managed is because I'm still a small, bespoke, made to order business. And so far in Pakistan, culturally, there's still an appreciation for craft. I don't know how long it's going to stay, but we still have people who are willing to spend on handcrafted garments.
I have something to add on to that.
Sure, Zara.
Luxury brands all over the world are difficult to sustain. Okay, so you will see nowhere in the world, very few, Hermes maybe is still owned by the family. The rest of the brands have been taken over by one LVMH or some other brand, and what that's how they stay true. That's how they can still make money, because जो mass market है, it works differently, and luxury brands work differently. If one company owns 3 to 4 luxury brands, they will, if one brand is making money 1 year, they'll be okay with the other brand experimenting and doing something. That's how the business can go forward, even in Pakistan. Even for me, that matter what Kami said, that I can't, because I do work with a company, I do have partners who just don't have partnership with me, they have partnership with many other brands as well. So it works very differently, and the information coming from the market is very different. You're like, you have information from 5 different brands coming to you as well, and your information going to them as well, and that kind of works for you. That helps you in purchasing fabrics in much better prices. It helps you purchase getting billboards, for that matter, in much better prices, doing a lot of things in much better prices. And that's how I think small luxury brands can work out in Pakistan, and that is how I think it should go. I think people are very scared of partnerships, because partnerships can fall. There can be a bad fallout. But if you find the right people who understand your aesthetic, understand you as a person, I think it can be very fruitful.
Yeah, so I completely agree that with partnerships, there's it's a slippery slope. But the negotiations that you spoke about when it comes to bulk purchases and so on, the business acumen that these people will bring, I think, will really add to a brand. And on that note, I will endorse that, that signature that Kami says, if we manage to collaborate, that alignment where you have that signature and then you have someone managing the business, as one sees in Zara Shahjahan, I think that leads to the success of the brand. On that note, I think since we're talking about scaling brands, coming to the environment, fashion, and post COVID, we've become very, very sensitive to what we are giving back to the globe. And there is just so much more we're taking versus giving back. And Sheru, on that note, I'd like to ask you what you think about the impact of this, of all the carbon footprint that we're leaving behind, and the wastages, landfills, where we're sort of dumping so much.
You don't agree with the carbon footprint? Why don't you tell me?
Oh God, that's really interesting. I want to hear that, Zara.
Pakistan has like 0.1 carbon in the world scale. तो हम जब सस्टेनेबल की बात करते हैं ना, हमें चुप कर जाना चाहिए, because we don't have jobs. People don't have to. हमारी, look at what's happening to our economy. do not focus on what the white people are telling you. White people need to fix themselves. No, I'm sorry. The Western people have done this to the world, and they're forcing us to now become sustainable. We haven't even started fashion as yet. हमारे यहाँ तो कुछ है ही नहीं. We hardly have any carbon footprint in the world, and we really need to focus on how we can get better, how we can have bigger brands, how we can we can export our fashion. We need to not focus on sustainable right now. That is a job for West. They should do it, and I'm very happy they're doing it. Half of our fashion is already sustainable: hand dyeing, hand embroideries, block printing. We already do a lot of sustainable fashion. So this conversation that we keep on pulling ourselves just because it's happening in the West, it does not apply to us. It just
Okay,
doesn't.
so that's a really interesting. Shiru, I'll take that and then hand it over to you. It's a really interesting viewpoint that she's raised, and I completely agree with her. But on that note, I think that from the West we need to take what benefits us, and because the West is now imposing sustainability into the supply chain, and the result of it is that the major exporters of Pakistan are now aggressively inducting IoT, machine learning, and artificial intelligence into the supply chain and into every single process. So I understand that this is really forward thinking, but I think that if at a point where we have not yet stepped into the scale of business, into the export of fashion, although we do export apparel, I think that it would maybe be a good step forward for us to also start thinking about machine learning and to start thinking about IoT, because as brands that have scaled up and brands like Ethnic who are going creating production cities, machinery aaj se aage jo aani hai is going to come with IoT. It is all going to be sort of structured in a way that it is going to be computerized to ensure that there is no wastage, to ensure that a time is being managed, cost is being managed efficiently. So I think those are good things to take. But yes, I agree with you that, you know, we're not really there, but to take it on before disaster strikes. So, Sheru, would you want to comment on this?
I think you said it quite coherently. Zara has a point that there has to be local thinking that has to be applied to this business right now, as opposed to an international approach. We have been suffering for far too long when wanting to ape what the West is wanting us to do for us to be able to be successful. But we aren't the West. We will never have been, and I don't think we ever will be. I think we are very securely who we are. Our finger has to be on the pulse of what Pakistan needs, and Pakistan needs development, and it needs to be able to refine its textile business, which is one of its most important businesses, for its not just its survival, for its growth. However, I do believe that a good strategy is always to learn from those people who have made mistakes and make sure that those mistakes are not applied here in Pakistan. I was not aware of the numbers until I sat with Asfar and also at the SOT conference with Arif, that the numbers that of clothing that are being made now in the world are staggering. For a family of 4, they will leave a waste of 39 kilos of fabric per family, per household. I mean, those numbers were staggering when I heard those at SOT. And also the amount of water that is required to just process is also quite staggering. Yes, Pakistan has no carbon footprint as yet, but it will. Pakistan's a different kind of country. We have a survival instinct that is unlike anyone else's. We have survived all of these years with so many trials and tribulations, both political and social, geopolitical. And the nation now requires some kind of expansive strategy to be able to develop and develop fast. But in this, if we can learn the lessons from the West and understand how important biohazard waste is, what to do with it, how to strategize. So we're not getting everyone else's waste, as you know, that has been happening quite a bit as well. And Pakistan's waste areas are now beginning to fill up a lot more. But it isn't with textile, unfortunately. It's with a lot of other stuff that isn't our doing. We need to have more of an internal approach to understand how Pakistan can work better. Yes, But if Pakistani brands are to make it international, which I hope that it does happen, because more and more the world is now wanting a unique sense of understanding themselves and therefore a unique sense of being able to buy a unique product, we're going to have to follow these rules. Because if we want to be able to sell in the rest of the world, we're going to have to follow these rules. We just have to figure out how to be able to implement these rules on our pace and on our terms. Absolutely. I can't say this enough, but it is now time for Pakistan to think Pakistan first. And if we don't think Pakistan first now, then we're just going to be towing the line for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, so on speaking of Pakistan first, I've always sort of been very curious why all these fashion brands, international fashion brands, have not managed to sustain in Pakistan. And I think that it makes me really proud that a Pakistani woman will still wear a sapphire or a Gul Ahmad and so on. But so we're very proud in that respect.
There is an advantage and disadvantage of that.
Yes.
The advantage of us wearing only Pakistani clothes is that most Pakistani brands focus on our own women and our own people. So we make Pakistani clothes. Selling Pakistani clothes abroad is not possible. And the same reason, India being so fashion forward and having the textile industry, they have not been able to make a brand which is international, meaning like Uniqlo or anybody, because even they wear local clothes and we wear local clothes. So brands, small countries like Korea and Japan and all, who wear Western clothes and are so far ahead in tech, they are competing with big Western brands right now, right? And no, like India and Pakistan have not been able to do that. But you have to understand that mindset can only change if our people start wearing Western clothes. But we have now one brand, which I must say, Outfitters, is doing a fantastic job with, and they can open anywhere in the world and be compete with any other brand as well right now. But on the other hand, when COVID hit, because the Pakistani brands were only selling to Pakistani people, it did not hit us that bad. That what the rest of the world was doing, we still managed to kind of go through it. Our brands did not shut down. They still kept on doing really well because we were selling to our own people and they were still wearing shalwar kameez, which is amazing. It's unique. It's very unique in the world that there is a country which still wears its own local dress.
Yeah, so this is the sort of discussion I wanted to go further into, that now there is a distinct change in consumer preferences. And while Kami just spoke about, the legacy customer or the heritage customer that wants handcrafted, the Gen Z and the millennials do not know any of that. So they're entering this market, which is the international market. And we've spoken of Rasta again and again. I think they're doing that really, they've carved that niche out for themselves where it's a Gen Z product and there's a little bit of culture and heritage into it. So Kami, where would one see a brand like Kamiar, Rakni in, let's say, 20 years, where the new customer is just looking for loungewear or looking for, they have their entirely self-defined aesthetic. जो bridal है वो bridal रहेगा, but वो एक बहुत archival किस्म का heirloom किस्म का piece रह जाएगा. So does it mean, because I do a lot of hand embroidery, I do a lot of craft, so does it mean that we're focusing on a shrinking market? Does it mean that we have to evolve and sort of look deeper into the demands of the Gen Z and the
I definitely think that it's a shrinking market because technology affects every industry and technology is developing every day. Now you can buy bridals that are mostly machine manufactured and every day they look better and better, and then they're helped with good marketing and branding. So you have in fact, even now currently you have design houses that are strong on the bridal, but they're using mechanized work to a great extent, and this has been on the increase in, I'd say, the last 8 years or maybe the last decade. And now it's really come to a point where you have even now aesthetically acceptable or aesthetically strong pieces that are not so dependent on hand embellishment. So I think hand embellishment or any handcrafted thing is may it be furniture or product design or carpets or clothing or embellishment, is remains to be seen where it will be in 20 years. But by the looks of it, there is a decline. As far as the Gen Z generation is concerned, for someone like me, Pakistan again is very unusual, is that culturally it is a country that predominantly wears national dress. Secondly, it is a country where matrimony and the bridal industry will always remain quite strong, because as far as our weddings are concerned, we're maybe incorporating Western events, but they are in addition to a strong lieu of traditional events. So, depending on your economic stature, weddings can go anywhere between 3 days to 7 days. There's a nikah, there's a mehndi, there's a shadi, there's a walima, there's a mayo, there's several dholkis. So, and there's a kavali, and then there's a party. So this is the affluent, and across the board, if you whittle it down, I mean, perhaps maybe in working class families you only have one event, but even then I think you have two events. So there is a cultural requirement. So as a bridal designer, I think it you know if I stick to what I'm doing, which is a special handcrafted product, and if I market it in a way that it is, I don't know, cool and relevant, which has a lot to do with design, what I can do, maybe other people cannot do when it comes to design. I think that has a lot to do with staying relevant. Having said that, there are plenty of girls from Gen Z who are wearing bespoke designer clothing. I have clients who came to me for the first time when they were 13-year-olds, and now their kids are coming too. So at the moment,
I will want to add that all like because we are constantly in survival mode. Pakistan has been in survival mode for the last 75 years. So our problem is that we have not appreciated anything, like our buildings, our architecture, the things that we need to kind of be like don't damage these things. Like मैं अंदरून इतना जाती हूँ and I'm like where are all these businessmen who are making I don't want to use the town's name, but all these towns, why aren't they spending money on that, and rather than making Eiffel Tower, why are they replicating Shalimar Bagh and all of that thing? I've said it. But the thing is that why they can replicate Shalimar Bagh, right? It's a खूबसूरत कोई चीज़ नहीं है. You go into Anarkali, Purani, they're amazing. You can make a mall, like walk-in mall, those old buildings, you can renovate them. Just like that, there are some designers in Pakistan which are businessmen or people who had the money had to say, no, I'm going to invest over here because this guy is doing what is going to influence and survive our fashion, and people like Kami for that matter. There very very few designers are like that in Pakistan, but we lack appreciation. Our Gen Z actually does appreciate all of that, and it's amazing. We give them, मैं खुद उनको बहुत बेचारों को डांटती हूँ, लेकिन I learn from them all the time as well, and the kind of appreciation they have for your art and your architecture and fashion in Pakistan, actually our age groups did not have that when we were young.
So yeah, I've hosted a lot of panel discussions, a lot of guest speakers recently. In the last one semester, it was just crazy, and I somehow feel that I enjoyed this the most. I think it's just by virtue of maybe being old friends, or that it was a very cohesive panel. We're down to the last 10 minutes, so I think open the floor for any questions, and if you guys want to sort of make any comments any last minute. Yeah.
25 minutes of questions are fine.
What? 25? You said it's a 1 hour session, no? 3:15? Oh, I thought we was finishing here. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, we can go on. Let's go on with the questions.
Hi, am I audible? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Fatma, and this was a very interesting session. For the past 1 year, I've worked with designers, and I've worked with them very closely. I've observed their work. I've taken note of their creativity. But something that was always lacking was how their workers and how their end of the art was sort of in the background. Now, something that I really appreciate about Miss Zara is that she really brought back the brown girl aesthetic, which was so empowering. Like the shalwar kameez aesthetic, you can instantly tell it's Miss Zara's work. However, I just feel that a lot of designers don't empower their workers and their aesthetic. Like the kamdani work and the intricacy of embellishments and everything, that is also a form of art that the workers bring with themselves and learn from their generations. But we don't educate our generation about it. We don't even educate the fashion clients about it or teach them enough to appreciate them. So what do you think that the fashion industry should overall do to empower these workers and bring back our heritage using them, like bringing them forward?
I apologize. I didn't understand the question exactly. So, are you saying that the workers need to be empowered, and therefore something needs to be derived out of them?
The workers, their generation.
The workers are, i.e., the karigars.
Yes.
The
I think
karigars.
she's talking about individual कारीगरों के टांके नहीं होते
हाँ.
कामदानी या
Yes.
let's say मडोरी
For
का काम
example,
हो गया
where's the campaign on Ada workers?
So,
Something like that.
no business in Pakistan is worth their salt without their karigars. You are absolutely nothing without them. You can have all the creative ideas in the world, but if without your karigars and your darzi and your actual worker is not necessarily empowered, he's not staying. There's no lack of jobs in the fashion industry at all. It's next to impossible to find them. They're not staying if they're not being empowered. The projects of empowerment aren't necessarily always on the same space as you say. I think Zara, to me, I don't know about her empowering of her workers. I think Zara empowers a look, an aesthetic that she says that it's cool to be desi, and that's her strength, right? In that same breath, I think I can speak of the designers that I work with, since I also, not in a year that you've worked, but in 29 years that I've worked with designers across the board, have also seen designers work in their space. I have seen people like Banto Kazmi, who is not just a revivalist, but she preserves embroideries. I've seen her work with and teach those same tankas to another worker and to another worker to be able to save Noor Jahan Bilgrami, Nilufar Shahid, Faiz Asami. They are incredible designers doing this kind of stuff. Myself, not that I want to talk about myself, but I want to talk about the projects we do, because these are things that I'm not the only one doing them. We did a project called the Share Project, where we took embroideries to a village called Sheheryar, and we taught women who could not earn for themselves, who were not married or who did not have a father, who felt that they were being ostracized, and we taught them these embroideries and used those same embroideries by not only teaching them how to do the embroideries, but talking to the gentlemen and the jirgas to make them understand that your daughter could also learn this and get free wages if you put them into school and you educate them, and we will provide them work. This is just one project I'm doing, and I kid you not, I'm not saying this is amazing. I know a lot of other people doing great embroideries. I understand that what you're saying is that maybe we need to talk about this more. Perhaps, maybe we do need to bring these kind of situations to the foreground. But what I'm trying to say is that all of us are only as good as our karigars. Just now, Kami is absolutely right with multi-head embroideries and this, that, the other. They've just started to take hold, and some of them are actually even looking really pretty now. Like some of them you can't even tell. But all our base and our strength comes from our karigars. And if they weren't empowered, we wouldn't be here.
Can I sort of answer to that question? I would like to take it to another angle. I think generally what happens is that if one designer has एक particular टांके का कारीगर जो कि बहुत strong है, तो वो designer उसको recognize करके उसकी basis के ऊपर multiple collections निकालते हैं. ठीक है, जैसे मेरे पास एक कश्मीरी कारीगर है, वसली का काम for instance.
Means why aren't you said why
Right
aren't they
now,
put in
why?
campaigns?
Yeah, so now I think that the interesting part of your question is that maybe we are not talking about it so much, but जैसे जैसे हम टांकों की बात कर रहे होते हैं, maybe we can bring, I understand that you're saying
You can give them recognition. Maybe you can give them, a round of applause. जैसे आपने उनके लिए वो एक शुरू किया trickle down effect.
The design house is known for its signature. The designer's job is to embody the entire team का strengths को ला के एक signature के अंदर लेके आना. Now, I'm not saying no, we should not bring the कारीगर to the forefront, because as much as a वसली का कारीगर is an artist, आपके बाकी कारीगर तो है ना, आपके दर्जी भी हैं, और so we invest ourselves in the leadership of, let's say, HSY, or they wish to be with them, and we celebrate that. When that brand goes up, we all go up together. So अगर मैं एक वसली के कारीगर को spotlight में लेके आ जाती हूँ, तो although my stitcher is not वो उस्ताद नहीं है in that respect, but he is also part of the team. So everyone, we can't bring everyone to the forefront. So when Zara Shahjahan is being celebrated, मेरी बहुत छोटी brand है, but when we score, we do like a little tap dance. We
And
do
it's
it together.
Absolutely. And look, Zara at the end of the day is also a business person, right? She's not just a old friend. She's like family to me. And I can say this: when we do what is it that we do, even when we are strategizing to celebrate our karigars, it's also marketing strategy for us too. We're also figuring out the kind of marketing note we want to leave in the heart of you, the consumer or the influencer, of what is it that we stand for. However, if she was to stop that strategy and go next year, there's no way that she can continue without still celebrating her karigars in her own way. I kid you not, our karigars would not stick around if they were not being celebrated, dealt with fairly. Gone are the days when they were so desperate for a job that they would be like, no, we'll stick around. Acha chale ji, 6 hafte job na paise nahi diye, we'll stick around. They're going to be like, adios amigos. There's a lady who's just decided that she's going to be a designer tomorrow, and her husband has a lot of money, so he's like, हाँ तुम designer बन जाओ, 15 लोगों को hire कर लेगी, और उससे पहले आप, before you can blink your eye, the guy will be like, oh बीबी फिकर ना कर, ले 4 Prados and ये एक लंबी factory and be a designer, and she'll pay any magazine 5,000 to 8,000 rupees to have the word slay, cool, queen of fashion, blah blah, and she'll have a brand on her hands. Sustainability is when you can keep your workers satisfied, happy for a very long time, and no brand would have survived. We can have all the design distinctions. Zara has her own way of thinking. Kami has his own distinct way of thinking. I have my own way of thinking. However, our own way of thinking is also cultivated and grown with our karigars, because our karigars teach us more every single step of the way. And we could not have gotten here if our karigars weren't happy. So I absolutely agree with you, but I assure you, कारीगर ने मार देना था अगर हमने.
What I do understand that you're trying to say is that they should perhaps get more attention. This is one of the things that I've always thought about as well, where synergy comes in. Everywhere else in the world, people are interested in fashion beyond just the superficial. Strangely enough, in Pakistan, we haven't had a filmmaker so far who has made a documentary on textiles, or a documentary on fashion, or a documentary on modeling, or a documentary on embellishment. So we're out here on our own in terms of promoting ourselves, creating jobs, doing reviving crafts. But another step would be to commission your own documentary. I mean, I've used my karigars in my campaigns, and other designers have, but I do think they deserve more attention. I think the rest of the world would be very interested in seeing, but you can't force people to create stuff if they don't want to.
दूसरा एक चीज़ मैं ये कहूँगी, like I've had runway shows where I've brought my karigars. बहुत दफ़ा जैसे मुजफ्फराबाद की
That's amazing.
रेफ्यूजी कैंप्स की औरतों ने मेरी एम्ब्रॉयडरी की. They came onto the runway. There frequently my team would come onto the runway for the final bow. But in a team we have to recognize कि किसकी क्या strength है, और कारीगर की strength कारीगरी है. ठीक है, जब वो पीस बन जाता है ना, और जब वो बिकता है या जब उसको अप्रिसिएशन मिलती है, वो बहुत ग्रेटिफिकेशन होती है. जिस तरह उस पीस को संभाला जाता है, बनने के 20 साल तक आप उसको सीने से लगा के रखते हो. अगर उस कारीगर को आप ब्रांडिंग की जॉब दे दो, जो कि HSY की जॉब है, he doesn't want it. He will not do it, and we all recognize that what HSY can do for the brand, that karigar, yeah, sure, bring him to the spotlight, but that karigar cannot sit here today and replace Sheru. Do you understand what I'm saying? We all have our own place, and being these small design houses, everyone is adding their 2 cents for Sheru to be who he is, or Kami, Zara. So it's just teamwork.
It's absolutely. And if you come to any of our karkhanas, you will find that our workers are an extension of us, like an extension of our families. They take great pride in being. They don't see me as HSY. If you come and speak to any of my workers, they don't see me. They say, "Oh, I'm HSY. Like, ye mera brand hai, ye." This is the kind of ownership that they take into their product, and this is what makes.
Okay, cut. People are saying more questions. Can we move the mic here? We're so sorry, Ji.
Gee, thank you very much. Bahut shukriya. I'm not a fashion designer or fashion industry mein. I'm a doctor and lived in US for a long time. Sheru is sitting there. Dr. Zahid Daskar. The few my observation during the course of discussion today. Number one, our market is very limited. We belong to a very poor country, and sustainability and affordability becomes a big issue. But I had a men's clothing store also beside practice of medicine in US, and I've dealt with Versace and Canali and Giuliano and Mondo, and I can go a long list of Italian and European designs. I believe that the work you guys are doing is commendable, and my salute goes to all of you who under these tough economic situations are surviving and serving the country immensely, beautifully. Having said that, शिकवा आपसे ये कि your focus is primarily on the weddings only. वही 7 जो function आपने गिनाए, मेहंदी, ढोलकी, शादी, निकाह. What about rest of the life design? Everybody desire to wear designer clothes. Everybody want to HSY label on their name tag. I mean, I have a huge collection of Italian and French designs in my closet, but I want Pakistani. Since I moved to Pakistan, I'm buying Pakistani things, enjoying immensely. I mean, I go to Ghani Chaudhary for my shalwar kameez, and I feel proud that somebody who has tailored for Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and who has tailored for Gaddafi and who has tailored for James Bond is making my clothes. I mean, it's immense honor to wear his clothes. So number one. Number two, you need to go design for general public also, not only limited to certain events in life. Having said that, I will listen to your comments.
General
Thank you.
public,
And men alone too.
we have
You're-
very good menswear brands in Pakistan who do Pret and who cater to mass market. We have J Dot. So
You know, even brands like Uniworth, वगैरह.
J Dot.
Yeah.
I just found out J Dot perfume business is 4 billion rupees. So.
Wow.
4 billion rupees. So so we do have a lot of mass brands. So you have to understand, Pakistan is going to be a very big market very soon. We are the 5th biggest nation in the world, population in the world, and we need to look within ourselves right now. We have small towns coming up. Small towns are becoming really well. Gujranwala, Sialkot, and all, they're like fantastic towns. Things are opening over there every day. New housing societies are opening there. Schools are opening there. So yes, brands are now looking into all over Pakistan. You have to understand, again, ready to wear production is very difficult. It needs a lot of money. It needs at least 2 years of money, cash with you so that you can survive. Is the industry paying that much money to designer? Young designers, young people not coming from moneyed background cannot do those productions. They can't. They will die. They can't survive. It has happened to me. I made 9 stores for Pret and I cash dried dead. So it's not easy. It's very, very easy to say, oh, why don't you guys do? We get Instagram pay, we get abused like hell. No, not everybody can do it. That's why you see Pret brands जो आ रही हैं, जो बड़ी Pret brands आ रही हैं, जो हर जगह हैं, वो industry brands हैं. वो brands हैं who have been exporting textiles for the last 50 years. They are the ones who are coming into a Pret. For young designers, for self-employed people, it's very difficult to produce and make those clothes, invest that much money and wait for it to sell and see. So it's easier to do bridal business because you get 50% advance, you can make the clothes, and you're good to go, you're surviving yourself. Yeah.
So it's आपका एक that comes to my mind is that we've seen a lot of collaborations between designers and lawn brands, but what we have not yet seen is on the Target cover, the American brand Target. They frequently bring like capsule collections by designers, and they're really, really successful.
But let's keep one thing in mind about Target, or Target as it's often referred to. Target is also a multi-brand store. It doesn't necessarily have a lot of its own things to sell. It's a strategist in the way that it has a huge space, but it doesn't really manufacture a lot of their own stuff. Most of their stuff, and I would step out to say at least 80% of the products on there are stuff that they have bought from other vendors and sold. However, I see what your point is. I appreciate your question. Keep in mind also that you are absolutely right on the first point that you said that Pakistan is a poor country, which it is. There's no doubt about it. Our buying power is still not as strong as we'd like to think. And when designers like ourselves, and there's proof in the pudding because a lot of designers have suffered this, when you are selling a luxury product, this happened in the Western world as well. The world all of a sudden thought, wait a second, diffusion line's a great idea. We should do diffusion line. Armani will start Emporio Armani and Armani Exchange and Armani Jeans. And then Dolce & Gabbana will do, Dolce & Gabbana is not enough. Let's do D&G because we'll hit that middle market. And when that middle market was hit, all of the biggest hits that were taken by a brand were on their main mothership brand, which is luxury. Because would you now want to buy a $4,000 Dolce & Gabbana jacket if you could get one for $400 at D&G? You wouldn't. All of their big price points started to get attacked. Same thing happened with Armani. Armani's big core business was his luxury business, started getting destroyed, and he had to wipe out all diffusion lines. The same thing will happen to us as well. The moment I start doing a 3,000 rupee ka kurta, I have to rethink my 15 lakh ka bridal. I have to just rethink it. I have to re-strategize it. I have to come up with different ideas to be able to market it. Is it impossible? No. It's not impossible. But is it going to be more work for me to be able to understand? And absolutely one other thing that Zara said, for any ready-to-wear brand to be able to succeed, it needs to have financial powers in its bank account to be able to run itself for 2 years minimum, because you're not seeing 2 years profits anywhere. That's how long it takes to be able to establish any brand. These are big numbers. And the numbers are quite staggering. So, yes, I would love for you to be able to wear HSY to work every single day. I would want nothing more. But if it came at the cost of me affecting my couture brand that I have worked 29 years in this industry to be able to build, and my bridal at that point does not sell, then I will most probably have a heart attack, because what I'm not is just a businessman. I'm a designer first and foremost. Thank you.